Yep. Well, 2:29. Let's wait a minute. I don't want to break any rules.
Wish you'd said
Boji
that
will get
earlier.
us on it. Oh, there we are.
We're good now.
2:30. Okay.
You're live.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to our Public Works meeting of what is it today? March 11th or 12th, right? Yeah. March 12th, 2025. And we have in attendance today Vince Palizzi, City Councilman, myself, Randy Allison, our the head of our committee is Bonnie Katz, and she can't be here today. We also have Kenny Smith from the fire department, um, Gary Narr from the codes slash uh, everything else he does department, Scott Livermore from Streets and Parks, Valerie Fessler from the CD or Development Department, and who am I missing here? Oh, Bill Scott, our city engineer, Janice Frank, our city clerk, and I think that's it. But if I missed anybody, I apologize. In any case, let's get started, and we'll start with item number one, an ordinance amending Article 117, General Fee Schedule. First reading, and it's Mr. Narr. Welcome, Gary.
Muted.
You're muted.
Try that. So
That's good.
what this is, good afternoon, everyone. What this is, obviously, the City Bureau of Codes deals with all the permitting. If anybody comes in and takes permits out, periodically we go through and we update the code under the general code. At the request of Streets and Parks and myself, we haven't done this for about 5 years. So the last time this was done was in 2020. So we took a look at basically our fee structure and made a determination that we need to adjust several different fees. So what you have before you is the actual ordinance. And what I did was highlight in yellow that everyone has basically the changes that we are requesting for that. And I'm going to start off with under section B, under contractor license fees. We're looking at changing that from $80 up to $100. That'll bring us in line with obviously a lot of the other local municipalities and things of that nature. Same thing with the plumbing, the commercial plumbing contractor's license. That's going from 80 up to 100. A conditional use, we've been running into more and more conditional use, and obviously the expense is getting somewhat overwhelming. So we haven't adjusted them in about 5 years. So we're changing that fee from 250 to 300. Drop down into number D. And if anybody has any questions, just stop me. But down to D, the street permit fee, again, it's a coordination between Streets and Parks and the city for permitting. We're changing that from a $10 fee up to a $20 fee. Obviously, with PP&L making a lot of changes in their pole placements, that's one of the main things that we do with them. So that fee is going from $20 to $30 per pole. The next section is where we're getting into the special event, and I can obviously let Scott Livermore chime in on that. Initially, we have a special event permit where we charge $50 for a special event. They're required to submit documentation to us. For an annual permit, which consists of multi-events that an event organizer does, normally it's $250. Scott had requested jumped up to $350. Obviously, it comes down into with placing barricades, things of that nature. So dropping down into the next section where they're talking about if they need barricades placed on Monday through Saturday, if they need them out on a Sunday. All of these fees, obviously, it's the city does incur, and believe it or not, we're not making money on these permits. It's just a way to basically try to keep us in line within our budget so that we're not basically going well over our budget. And a lot of times with these special events and different things like that, we run into that issue. Drop down into section E where we're talking about other licensing. One of the new things obviously we're running into is we're getting a lot of new restaurants, new facilities, and it takes more than just walking in and looking something that's existing to inspect. So we're doing with a new facility. We never had a fee for that. So this way we're looking for $240. Again, that falls us in line with the Department of Ag, who does health licenses throughout outside the city. So therefore, as far as our current renewal of these licenses for existing facilities, we're changing it from 80 up to 100. Dropping down into the next section under F, our college letter inspections. What that is Penn College and Lycoming College, in order for you to get on a good landlord list from them, they require these college places where these kids stay to get inspected. In the past, we'll go out and inspect it based off of an address, which is $60 for the address. However, in most of these college letters, they may have 10, 12, 14, 15 units. So what we're asking to bring in line with our rental, just like our rental program, and that is $60 per address and $15 per unit. The next section we're getting into is the building code of appeals. Is, again, we were normally charging $200. Obviously, you are well aware of the last Board of Appeals that we had with the Pajama Factory. The exorbitant amount that it cost us, we're upping that fee to $350. Same thing with the ICC. So those fees are basically changing. The next section, again, you're running into permit where you're talking to street closures. Again, dealing with streets and parks. We felt that it was more in line to up these prices, and we've just upped them $25 per event based off of 7 days, 14 days, and so on. And the last section obviously falls more in line with streets and parks. Is obviously the license to utilize the mulch pit and get access to that. Those fees he had requested to be changed. You see those changes. So again, this is merely, the city has not done any type of amendment in the last 5 years. So to basically help so that it's not a burden to the city's taxpayers, we're requiring that these fees be updated at this time. Answer any questions.
Thanks, Gary. Before I'm going to turn it over to Vince first, but the first 3 or 4 that you mentioned aren't marked in yellow.
I'm sorry, that was an adjustment that was caught by Austin. Austin reviewed that notice. I hadn't changed those. And what it was just merely the plumbing contractors and the building contractors, bringing that in line with other municipalities. So we normally were charging $80. We bring in that. So when a contractor comes in and gets registered, we get their state certification, liability insurance, and they get a contractor license as registering for the city. So that's going up from $80 to $100. That was not on the highlighted, and Austin caught that. I didn't catch that.
Okay. And I think there were a couple others that I don't have any yellow on my copy until I get down to D.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll send that back out to you guys so you have it, send it out to council. Austin and I have been trying to modify this and try to bring it in line so we were correct. And I think we got most of it done late yesterday afternoon. That's my fault.
Okay.
I'll send you the yellow highlights as of today.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Vince, do you have any?
No, I don't have any questions at the time, but thank you very much, Mr. Narr, for going through this, you and Austin, and bringing us up to what is current, and in line with the other charges and fees that are local to us. Just if we can try and stay on top of this and any of these increases that are necessary are slow, gradual, and minute. That way we don't try to catch up over multiple years in one foul swoop and some drastic major impact.
Right.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
The one question, actually, it just hit me. I do have, Mr. Nar, is so the landscape contractor with business address in the city, with a business address outside of the city. I see the charges for that, $3,000 and $6,000. I'm guessing that you and Mr. Livermore discussed that because when I believe that when landscaping contractors just had, when we were still figuring out the gate access, they were coming over, or non-residents of the city were coming over, dropping off a lot of brush. That's an awful lot of extra brush that people don't realize that we have to come up and then grind in every single time that when we have to do that. Scott, there's a pretty big cost to doing that, correct?
Right, yeah. So the reason for that increase, one is, so there is one in there where you have outside contractors and they are the $6,000. And they can, if they're pulling out of Lowestoft, obviously they pay for a card to come here, but that's why they pay that significant price. The 3,000 is just within the city. If there's a contractor working within the city limits, pulling brush, that's where that cost incurs. But yeah, like I ran the numbers last year, I think we're right around the mid 90s, $90,000 to operate that with between grinding, my guys' time, the fuel costs of getting rid of the mulch and all that nature. So yeah, we tried to, got with Gary a couple months back actually, and said we have to try to, bump everything up a little bit, not to so much hinder the public, but is try to get some of our costs more in line with everything's going up in prices nowadays. Every year there's a price increase on the grinding, and I think the last 5 years or last 2 years that I've been around, I think we're up about $5,000. So we got to do something, help cover that. Otherwise that's a service that we won't be able to afford to provide.
No, I appreciate it, Gary, Scott. Thank you very much. We can't afford to keep just giving everything away or shortchanging ourselves, then end up in financial distress.
Yes.
Thank you. I have no more questions or comments, Mr. Allison. Thank you.
You're welcome, Vince. Thank you. Gary, I just had one question under F. The rental reinspection fee, is that applied to all the rentals that we inspect or just college rentals?
It's all the rentals. And here's the issue that we run into this is we will go out, and most of these obviously are existing rental inspections. So they know what's needed in them. If we go out there and this was what happened, we're going out 2 and 3 times because we'll give them a list of 5 or 6 items that are faulty and tell them to correct the action. So I got an officer driving out. He goes out there for the second time and they still don't have everything done. And they're like, okay, then we'll work on the next. And then they call us a week later and the officers are going back out and back out and back on. Hopefully this is going to alleviate that time where they can do more important things than continue to go back out for these rental re-inspections that we're doing 4 and 5 times over. And we're doing the same thing. Obviously the ICC does the same thing. If we go out there and have to do a plumbing inspection and we go out there and it's not done right, then that's their time going out there. So we have to send them back out the second time, sometimes the third time, just to get the plumbing or the drywall correct to meet the codes. And that's the same thing with the rental ordinance. The officers are going out sometimes 4 and 5 times for something that should have been corrected. When we give them corrective action, what we needed, it's just a matter of fixing this, doing that. We go back out the second time, they pay the $30. But when we continuously go back out there, it's obviously a lot of time wasted for the officers.
Great. That makes all kinds of sense. Thanks, Gary. No other questions then. We'll move on to item 2. Resolution authorizing execution of a lease agreement between Wall and the city of Williamsport.
Yeah, so what you got before you is a resolution authorizing execution of the lease agreement between Williamsport Area Little League, which is Wall. So this is something we do every year. It's a year-to-year lease. That, for them to go play ball out there. It's just, there's really nothing a whole lot, nothing has changed since the last contract. It's still $1 lease, to Wall Little League. Any
That's
questions?
pretty simple. Any questions or comments on that, Derek? Derek, yeah, got Derek on my mind. Vince?
No questions. I'm happy to see Wall's doing so well. Those guys always take magnificent care of those fields.
Yeah.
So knowing that they're they're going to be looking after those fields, I feel really good about that.
I do too. Have we had a lot of problems?
The
Over a
only
period of time.
problem we've had, there was a little bit of water out by the retention basin, left center field on the baseball field. We actually addressed that problem today. My guys did. So hopefully that mends that up. Other than that, the field's in pretty much really good condition.
Okay.
I'm surprised they actually ain't practicing on it right now, but yeah, everything's looking good out there.
And vandalism, why?
I didn't see any. I was out there today. I haven't seen anything. I know we're having a little bit of issues with a homeless guy getting into the dugouts and staying in there. So I've been talking to Ron. We're trying to come up with a solution to maybe gate the dugouts out, off, because they can jump the fence right by the dugout and just get into the
Sure. Yeah.
dugouts. But that's that we're working through a few little minor issues, but that's about it.
Okay, great. Okay, let's move on to item 3. Resolution awarding construction services for Elm Park improvement projects. Mr. Scott.
Good
Hello
afternoon.
there.
Good afternoon. Yes, so we received bids late Friday afternoon, around 3:30. We received 2 bids. This is for the improvements at Elm Park. The work's going to include, we're going to resurface all the tennis courts. We're actually going to remove 3 of the tennis courts and install 6 pickleball courts. So there'll be 6 pickleball courts and 3 tennis courts remaining when this is all done. That's all going to be resurfaced, relined, and a brand new surface. Also, part of this, there's going to be some paving. There'll be brand new walkways going to all 3 ball fields at Elm Park, plus the pavilion, and concession stand, plus parking area. There'll be 6 regular parking spaces and 2 ADA handicap parking spaces as well. And also, we're installing brand new bathrooms, women's bathrooms. It's a big part of this. New bathrooms there at Elm Park. So we received 2 bids. Big Rock Paving was the low bid. Their base bid was $860,860. They had an alternate bid, which we got a price for lighting to light the pickleball courts, tennis courts. That cost was $239,140. The total bid was $1,100,000. Our budget is $872,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. So we're good to award our base bid of the $860,000. We don't have enough money to do the lighting. We wanted to find out how much the lighting would cost because we've had a lot of questions about that, but we don't have enough budget to do the lighting. So, and I'll also mention the second bid was from LandServ, a company. Their low bid, their base bid was $894,177.90, and then their ad alternate was $451,092. They had a total bid of $1,345,269.90. So, like I said, we're looking at we would like to award the base bid to Big Rock for $860,860.
Okay. And I think all we got was the resolution. We didn't get any of this. At least I didn't get any of this backup information.
Yeah, I'll get that over to you.
Okay.
It all came in like late. Well, today it's still coming in. bid
Oh,
stuff.
all right.
I can get that too, because we ordered bids late on Friday. I'll get that to you, the low bid package.
Okay, that sounds great.
I'll email it to you and Vince.
Okay. Vince, do you have any questions or comments about this?
I do. Thank you. Mr. Scott, thank you for joining us. Real quick, remind me again what line item out of the budget this funding is coming from, please?
This is a CDBG funded project, Community Development Block Grants.
Is it funded 100% by CDBG?
I believe so, yes.
Yep.
That included engineering design was also funded by the grant,
Okay.
and the construction, which we're talking about now.
Okay. That's honestly right now, Randy, that was what I wanted to know. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was thinking about either, so we got that covered. Okay, thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
Yep.
And let me get back up to, okay, we'll move on to item 4, resolution authorizing completion of PEMA DAP 1 designation of agent form. And addressing this is Kenny Smith and Melanie Schnott. Welcome.
Good afternoon. This resolution is to authorize the completion of the PEMA designation form, and this will assign the mayor as the authorized agent to sign on behalf of the city for financial assistance through PEMA for the fire department. This is a standard procedure and really just a formality.
Oh, okay.
So we're just
Yeah, it
authorizing
seemed
the mayor to sign.
right. Yeah, it seemed pretty simple, but do you have any questions on this, Vince?
I do, real quick. Thank you. Chief Smith, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Real quick, so we're going to designate the mayor, of course, to be the designated authorization for these disaster relief applications. Do you guys have anything specific in mind that you're looking at under the Stafford Disaster Act that you're thinking of applying for?
Actually, we have already applied for its fiscal responsibility from FEMA. So basically we put in a request for equipment that was damaged in the flooding of Tropical Storm Debbie last, August 9th. We damaged some dry suits, some boots, between damage and diesel fuel on them that won't come out, and also the salaries and overtime that was required for us to perform our duties. We're doing our best to mitigate the cost to the citizens of Williamsport.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. I have no other questions, Mr. Ellison.
Okay, and I don't either. That was a good question there. Thanks, Vince. Let's move on to item 5, resolution authorizing professional services agreement with the city and CEDACOG for preparing amendments to the city's 2017 and 2018 annual budget or annual action plan. Let me see if let me get that up first. Okay, and Valerie Fessler is going to address this. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you. Yes, the purpose of these substantial amendments is to reallocate home funds into the city's Habitat for Humanity housing construction activity. So we spoke at a council meeting last fall about allocating home funds to Habitat for Humanity for their multiple house build that they are doing on Scott Street here in the city. And the home funds that we are allocating to that project are from 2017 and 2018. So we are required by HUD to go back to our annual action plan and make an amendment to those plans to specify exactly how we are spending that funding. So this will be a professional services agreement with CEDACOG in order to work us through that process administratively and on our behalf.
Great. And has an amount not to exceed 3,200, correct?
That's correct.
With the process. Okay. Vince, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't either. It makes total sense, and that's a great use of that money. So thank you for that, Valerie. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any related items? Is there anything from the administration or from City Council? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll entertain a resolution or entertain a motion to end this meeting,
I'll make a motion.
and I'll
To end.
second it. We're in favor of that. Thank you, and everybody get a chance to enjoy this beautiful weather today.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.